Hey guys, so vulnerability. Brene Brown is an amazing writer on shame, and I've read a lot of her work and also looked into vulnerability a lot. And vulnerability, a lot of people think is weakness, but vulnerability is the essence of knowing how courageous we are as humans. Because when we are vulnerable, we have to be real, yeah? You have to tell people your story. And you have to also not only tell people your story, stop hiding from it yourself. So for example, as much as any person who wants to be a voice or a celebrity or someone larger in this world, they also want to hide at the same time when things get too tough or people are very hard or unkind. As much as people talk about body confidence, we also feel that we have shamed or hated on our body. That's part of being vulnerable. As much as anything in life, there is that yin and yang, light and dark. And vulnerability is the birthplace of anything that creates innovation and change and growth. Without vulnerability, we don't have acceptance, we don't have compassion, and we don't have real connection in the world. So what happens when we don't be vulnerable? So say you're having a bad day, or say something's happened in your life. You are feeling turmoil inside, so your thoughts are welling around crazy, you're not feeling enough, you're feeling beaten down. That's the stem of depression too. What happens when we don't say, hey, I'm not doing so good because of A, B, or C, or however much you want to extend the information to the people that you're addressing? We become hurt people and unhealed people. And a lot of the time, the people that hurt us are hurt people too. They are unhealed, shall we say. They often say hurt people, and I think that's very true when I look at my behavior. When I'm having a bad day and I'm, say being a mother, I know my patience is a lot less, and the likelihood of me not having as much patience, reacting in a not so loving, patient way as I usually would, maybe yelling or getting a little more frustrated than usual, is high. And that's not because of what's happening on the outside with my daughter or my life. It's what is happening inside of me. And I didn't say, hey, I'm having a really bad day. I know that I'm not on par. I'm feeling like this. And then it becomes real and it becomes honest. And the other person's like, oh, okay, I respect that. But what happens when we don't announce it and be open about, for example, maybe someone who's had sexual assault finds certain things of an issue. Maybe they can't connect to certain people because they remind them of that experience. And when they meet that person, they automatically become cold. And that person's like, what have I ever done to them? But it's nothing that they've been done to them by that specific person, but it's the experience that they've had creates the impact in the reality. The ripple effect, shall we say, it can be either positive or negative. And without being real and vulnerable, saying to the person, hey, I'm sorry, I've had a really horrendous experience. So every time I see this, I feel this. And the person's like, oh, I'm so sorry for your experience. Then they can understand. But when you don't say anything, we close down as humans. We get aggressive, we act in fear, and we often do things that when we are mindful about, think that we could have done a better way. Often also when we receive judgment from others and criticism and unkind behaviors that could have been better managed, that is in turn someone suffering internally. And so, for example, when people judge fitness people for having fit bodies, or people say real people have this or that, or real women have curves when they see a skinny person, what is in fact happening is that internally there is an issue with how they feel as a person, because real people are everybody. Real women are everybody. There's skinny, there's curvy, there's in between, there's different colors, etc., etc. Real humans are everybody. So when we are feeling inadequate internally, we are challenged by the external signals of the world and people of the world, and therefore our patience, our approach to life through love becomes more of an approach of fear. When we can address this type of concerns or the way in which we feel to others and say, hey, this is where I'm at, life has been so, and I'm struggling here. People can go either, oh, hey, I didn't know that, I'm so sorry, I thought it was about this, because that's their perception, or I feel that too, I've been feeling the same way. And there's the connection. Vulnerability builds connection. It also builds compassion and respect, and a way to find love and to heal. But when we keep closing down those doors and saying, that doesn't exist, that can't exist, that's not happening, I'm just going to put it away to the side, we get a lot of aggression and fear and anger-based projections of ourselves or others in the world. So to be vulnerable is the hardest thing possible, but to be vulnerable is the most important thing, because in our whole life we are always going to be healed in some areas, but always going to be healing, because there is always going to be input from the external world that is going to remind us of things that we need to work on, things that we need to get better. So when I think about vulnerability in my practice of life, I think it's really my truest thing. When I've had days when I've yelled at my daughter, I've said, oh geez, afterwards, okay, you weren't quite doing the right thing, but I know that I could have responded better. I'm so sorry. I'm going to work on that. And she says, that's okay, Mama. I'm sorry too. And we both look at each other and understand, and we understand that we went to a tantrum, and my way in which I responded yelling wasn't the best, but we understand each other's both struggling. She's struggling obviously with dealing with certain thing about growing up, and I didn't understand, and I'm struggling internally because I'm having a bad day, no patience, and I raised my voice. These things understand and become better. I remember after being sexually assaulted, I couldn't listen to certain songs that talked about connection deeply, and I asked someone to turn the radio off, and they always used to get annoyed at me, but I didn't tell them why, because I was very embarrassed and hurt and ashamed feeling very ashamed about the situation. And then I said, oh, I'm sorry, I know I keep annoying you, asking you to turn that off. Can we just change the radio? I need you to change the radio because I'm trying to process what happened to me in the assault. I just need a little while, and once I can do that, then I can listen to that stuff. And now I can listen to those songs, but 5 years ago I couldn't. And they said, oh, thank you, I didn't understand, I thought you were just being some picky person. So my advice to you as a human is to get real with yourself. To heal, we have to go in and we have to go through it, but also understand that for any person that's potentially not doing the best projection of themselves in the world, coming across a bit wrongly, perhaps that they've got places they need to heal and they're too scared to be vulnerable, and so give them a little compassion. For every negative emotion in this world is second based. It comes from fear and something we're struggling inside. For every challenge, it's the same thing. We see the world as we see it, when we're living in fear-based or love-based. And the same thing that we see today through love-based, if we see it through fear-based, it will be a horrible experience. And it could be exactly the same picture. So remember that it's really important to be real. To be real will help you to connect. It will help people to understand each other, and it will also help you to understand it's okay. You're doing okay. You can do this. So I hope this helps. And remember, vulnerability. It's the place of true strength. It's the place of courage. It's a place in the birthplace of creation, innovation, growth and development, and to find love in all that we are imperfectly. Namaste.